So you've been through your debrief, you noted everything down, and you've looked at your trades. Now's the time to actually start thinking about how you're going to improve things. Now, it's very easy with, say, a strategy that's not working. We've been through that in the strategy. If it's not improving, you've got to assess what it is that's making it change and then move on with that. The bigger improvements come with things that you're actually doing well and recognizing those areas and actually then being able to improve on them. Of course, there are improvements that can be made around some of your weaker areas, and that's not necessarily strategy related, so I'll come on to that as well. So first off, what I like to do is just keep a track of what your strengths are, what you're becoming stronger at as well. So I've got just an example, things like your patience when you're out of a trade. If you can sit out of a market until you start seeing your edge, until you see something coming up, that's a great strength to have and something that everyone really should be aspiring towards. Trade location, again, very important. This will improve your execution, as well as recognizing the day type, and then other things in terms of specific trading, understanding of central banks. These are just a few examples from myself. They're things that I personally think that I am quite good at doing, but there is areas of improvement. Things like being influenced by others. Whilst you can maintain a great deal of patience, once you're in a trade, then being influenced by others, not looking at the trade in the same way when you're in it as when you're out of it, is definitely an area where you can look to improve. Again, things like holding those trades to target, that again can be an element of that influence, but also of that desire to actually take some profit out of a trade rather than actually run it. These are areas, again, that you can improve. Give yourself little challenges to accomplish, and that's something that I'm going to be going on to how to actually set those little challenges. Increase in size. Fundamental understanding is always an area to improve on. You can never say that it can be a strength of yours, having a good fundamental understanding of what's going on, but because the world is dynamic, these things are always changing. So keeping yourself up to date on that is always an area you can improve in. And again, pyramiding, this is building the size up. Another great area to be looking at improvement. So it's not all just strategy based improvement, it's improvement based on the way you've been reacting to things, the way that you've been thinking about the markets, and also the way you act when you're in trades as well. That's what's going to allow you to improve even more than just adapting strategies. So once you've got the areas that you want to improve on, it's now about actually creating a way that you're going to do that and also tracking it. So what you need to be looking at is setting yourself a goal and being very clear on how exactly you're going to do that. Within this, you are going to need quite a degree of deliberate practice. Now, what I mean by deliberate practice is actually repeating the same things, but looking for some kind of feedback, looking to see if that practice is actually working. It's not just a case of doing the same thing over and over and over, because if that's not actually changing anything, you're just repeating a process for no reason. So create a very, very clear method of what you're going to do and how you're going to be able to review that and get some kind of feedback that is going to enable you to continue to improve. You can even continue to improve the way that you practice things. So it's always looking for more and more continuous improvement. So just a few examples based on that last slide of things that I wanted to improve. Being influenced by others. Something that I use is to tweet early on in the day. So use Twitter, make the most of it. Explain what you think is going to happen in the day. Not only will this make you a bit more accountable because you actually said it, you now feel that you really should trade it if you've actually said that you believe something's going to happen, but also you will definitely get some feedback on it. People will comment on it. People will like your tweet if they agree with you. They will add a little bit more perhaps, so give you a new perspective. But again, this is then going to give you that chance of not being influenced by others, but being able to take their opinion and just add it to yours. I think that is a very key thing. Just because someone else has an opinion doesn't mean that it is any greater or better than yours, no matter how much experience they've got or how strongly they put across that opinion. Now, in terms of holding the trades, this is something I challenge myself with every day. Put a stop in, even if you're only doing it with, say, half of the trade. Put a stop and put a target in and leave it. it will hit one of them, and that is how you continually improve. You know, if you're seeing that every time that when you do this, you are actually managing to hold the trades, or you are actually generally getting a positive outcome from it, and this is where looking back at the strategy and that continually assessing your strategies helps. But if you're able to do that, then that builds your confidence, that builds the idea in your head that watching your P&L doesn't matter. Focus on the trade, make sure you get that right, and that way, you know, you're seeing that feedback, and you're getting told that you're doing the right thing by doing that, so that allows you to improve. Fundamentals, quite simple. Read a couple of articles, note things down, you know, discuss with other people, challenge yourself, come out of your comfort zone and start challenging other people on their fundamental views of things. You know, they may be able to persuade you, otherwise they may help you gain a bit more knowledge, but get out of your comfort zone with that. You know, challenge yourself in that way. That's the way you get feedback, by discussing with others. Reading is not just enough by reading the 2 articles. That will give you some knowledge, but you then want to test that knowledge with others, see how your understanding of it is going. And again, pyramiding, this you need to go back over your price ladders, watch them, and what you're trying to do there is, again, like I mentioned with figures, instill that pattern recognition. You know, what is it that you see that could tell you it's a chance to pyramid? This is also going to improve your price ladder or your price action analysis and understanding as well. So again, it's just creating that deliberate practice, you know, where you are getting some feedback. You can start putting those pyramids on, even if it is just a small, you know, very small size pyramid that, you know, perhaps isn't what you intend it to be eventually, but you're getting some confirmation that you are reading those replays right. You are, you know, implementing what you are seeing. So there's the deliberate practice in that. Now, in terms of increasing your size, this is one of the hardest things to do. And I think where people fall down quite often is they increase their size based on a good run, so maybe 3 up days, or they've had a really good day. Perhaps there's been some news, you know, so they've got an outsized day, so they decide to increase the size. Ultimately, that's not actually a strong reason for increasing your size just because you've got a little bit more money. Are you actually doing anything different? And that's the key thing. So what I look at is your performance ongoing. So you go back to those metrics, you know, look at how many ticks you're taking per clip, things like that. Assess your strategies. Are certain strategies beginning to work very well at certain periods of time? Then you can up your size, but remember, maintain that strategy. Don't do anything different. Don't start taking tighter stops because, you know, your size has varied. Keep with what the strategy says, and just accept, and this is the biggest thing, you've got to accept that if you increase the size, your stop on all trades will be larger in monetary terms. If you count your stop in ticks though, if you have a 5 tick stop with a 10 lot, a 5 tick stop is exactly the same with a 100 lot. Your P&L will be different, but the stop is exactly the same. It is still in the same place. So remember that. And also, again, to gain some feedback, mark your comfort when you're in those trades. You know, when you've got larger size in the trade, mark down your comfort level in that trade and make sure you're seeing that increase. If you're not seeing your comfort level increase in the trades, then you've got to start considering whether it is the right time to be increasing the size. So they're the key things I look at with increasing size, not just based on your P&L or a few good up days, because again, this could be based on luck. It could be that all things happen to have aligned just at the right time for you, or, you know, something like that doesn't necessarily mean it's time to raise your size. But when you do, maintain your stops, maintain the thought process, ignore the fact that the size is bigger, and get someone else to encourage you. Tell them that you're doing it, and that way someone else becomes, you're a little bit more accountable to someone else, but they will continue to push you, and they'll make sure that you stay in the trades, or that they'll talk to you about it, and that's very, very important. So that is what I would say is the most key things with up in size. It is always quite a tricky subject, that. Best way to monitor how well you're improving is by tracking it. And what I mean by this is literally just ticking off your challenges day by day. Every time you achieve something, every time you've achieved one of those little areas that you wanted to do, so for example, holding a trade to the target, tick it off each day. I've given you at the end of this a worksheet, which basically is how I go about doing it. It's very simple, and whilst it's taken quite a while to actually explain how I go about debriefing and creating improvements, once you've got all of those elements together, it can be quite a quick process. And what this does is it creates a habit. If you do it every day, tick off what you've done well, you start noticing where you're doing very well, you start building a habit to try and achieve all of those little improvements. But what you also notice is if you're consistently hitting one of them, that's where again you can now start to get a new improvement, give yourself a new challenge. So say for example, every time you try and do the holding a trade to target, you're able to do it with half your trade. Build that up to 3/4 of your trade. Always be trying to give yourself a new challenge. And again, this goes along with comfort as well. If your comfort starts really rising in a trade and you're very comfortable just putting it on, it's nice and easy, in a way you've got to look at that and think to yourself, right, I need to challenge myself again now. I need to get out of my comfort zone. So assess that comfort. That's where the comfort assessment comes in very, very important in your journaling, because once you're building that comfort up, you need to be getting out of your comfort zone. It isn't always enjoyable, of course, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't maintain in your comfort zone for a little while. Reap the rewards of it as well. Trading is not just about constantly being under pressure, constantly being out of your comfort zone, but you do need to continue to improve, continue to challenge yourself. And as I say, that could be a reward to maintain your comfort zone if you manage 5 consistent days. Or give yourself something else. Say you're going to go out for dinner, you're going to do something with friends, you're going to buy yourself something if you hit 5 consistent days. This again gives you that little goal to aim for, that drive over the next week to make sure that you maintain those challenges, that you do each of those challenges. And this is why, again, a P&L based challenge isn't such a good idea, because you can't guarantee to do it. Whereas if you are trying to stick to a certain trade and always stick to either it will hit your target or your stop, you can assess whether you did that every day, whether it did hit your target and make you money or your stop and lose you money. You can still tell that you have done the trade, you have completed that challenge for the day. So that's why, again, stepping away from the P&L and focusing on those challenges is very important. And of course, reward yourself. There's no point in doing this job if you're not going to get any reward for it. So afterwards, what I'd like you to do is try and create some of these own challenges for yourself. Go through your strengths, go through areas that you feel you can improve, create those challenges for the next few weeks, and this will help your trading no end by just continually giving you new things to think about and assess how well you're actually doing at certain things. So, in summary, the point of your debrief is to reset yourself, not just to assess your trades, but it resets you for the end of the day. It allows you to go home without overthinking trading. Give yourself that break that you need. Trading is not all about constantly being in the markets. Remember to carry the information forward. This is what's going to give you that little bit of edge against other traders. That the fact that you've already thought about what could be coming up, giving yourself a scenario based as well on what has happened. So once you've got that info going forward, it just allows you to be that little bit quicker. Always be looking for new opportunities. This could be the ones seen from previous days. This could be totally new strategies and trades that you could be looking at as well. So always be thinking about new opportunities. That's what is going to make you a great trader. That's where the improvement is going to keep coming, that constant looking to learn. If you sit back on the few trades that you've got, the trades that you like, that's where you stop improving. All trades eventually stop working. So be very aware of that. And that again comes back to that carrying info forward. If you're carrying it forward and you're seeing trades aren't working, start changing them. Always aim for that constant improvement as well. Diarize things. Score your performance. This way you know if you're improving rather than just looking at your P&L. It takes that away. This has been a focus all throughout this course of maintaining that step away from the P&L, keep it back to process. Create new challenges for yourself every day. Try each time that you're comfortable with one, create a new challenge. Always be looking to improve in that way, and reward yourself for it. When you're achieving those bigger goals through continually creating new challenges, you need to reward yourself as well. There's no point in just becoming a better and better trader if you're not going to take at least a little bit of gain from it. Now, remember, trading is always constant improvement. Like I've said, stay comfortable for a little while, but always try and step out of that comfort zone. Once you're comfortable, what that means is you're doing well. It's time to start improving. It's time to start getting even better. Now, the one thing that I would always recommend to people starting to trade, and I think this is something that I try and carry through a lot of my life, is strive to be excellent. Don't try and be perfect. If you aim to be perfect, one, you will fail because no one can be perfect. And two, if you ever got close to being perfect, there would then be nowhere to improve. And that, one, takes the joy out of trading, and two, means that you can't be looking for new challenges. You can become bored. So always aim to be excellent in every element of trading, every element of your debrief, your improvement, your technical analysis, your fundamental analysis, your execution. Always aim to be excellent in all of them. If you can do that, it is going to make you a great trader. Now, I put after this a couple of worksheets. These are to help you journalize things, to help you score yourself, and as well as to create challenges and continue your improvement. So do go away, make sure you complete those. That's going to help you out no end. It's going to make your debriefing so much more streamlined. It is not going to take you a long time to do debriefs at the end of the day, but doing them every day, being consistent with that, creating that deliberate practice, that deliberate feedback through your ticking off of challenges is what's going to make you so much of a better trader. So good luck with that, guys.